we got to talk about this situation going on with these quote unquote peaceful protests, which are really just riots. Let's all be honest about the situation. It is the left charging up a portion of the American public, along with some illegals mixed in there, to be violent, to behave in a very anarchistic, I guess that's what you would say, type way, where they're basically just going around just trying to cause as many problems as they can cause so that they can say that, oh, well, none of this would have happened if Trump hadn't been in office, as if Trump is the one that's leading this foolishness, right? We all know better. But I want to play this video for those of you that want to say, oh, they're not rioting. They're just protesting. This is just a normal protest. This is just a peaceful protest. You know, that's the smoke they keep blowing up everybody's behind, trying to pretend like it's not what it is, right? But let's check out what's going on, what went on in Los Angeles on Saturday. Let me pull this up real quick. Let's cue this up real quick.
Anti-ICE rioters stormed an Oregon ICE office over the weekend, and they hurled fireworks, smoke grenades, rocks at federal agents. Several officers were hurt. Rioters used a stop sign as a battering ram and shattered a glass door of that building. Authorities officially declared a riot and made multiple arrests there. This has gone to a new level. Like that's not, they're no protesters. That's not what's happening out there. In fact, it's dangerous if you're out there trying to be a protester, I would imagine, because you got these guys among you. Los Angeles is ground zero for the anti-ICE protests and riots that have spread across the country. We know that. It started there, now it's moved elsewhere. Police there were again forced to battle with rioters over the weekend. Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE agents conducting raids, arresting people in this country illegally. That's your first crime. Do more when you get here, just a stronger reason to kick you out. President Trump posted this: "We must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. These and other such cities are the core of the Democrat power center." And the Trump administration announced plans to conduct the single largest mass deportation program in U.S. history. Earlier this month, the White House reported that ICE has arrested more than 100,000 illegals so far this year. Kellyanne Conway, Fox News contributor, former senior counselor to President Trump. So this is on the move. No matter what the rioters or anybody else does, the president is targeting those here illegally, particularly the worst, the violent.
Well, this is very smart, and the White House is doing a masterful job at communicating to us regularly who exactly is being deported. They have this running list of the faces and the rap sheets and the names of examples. Everyone wants to pretend, everyone on the other side waving Mexican flags. I'm sure soon we'll see Iranian flags from them too, Harris. These animals who are hitting out and throwing things, committing crimes against law enforcement in Portland, in LA, and elsewhere. They don't understand that
Why is it always Portland? What is going on? Like, can anybody answer that for me? What is going on with Portland, Oregon? Like, every time I hear about Portland on the news, like, Portland has to be like the most democratic, bluest city on planet in the entire country. Like, every single time I look up, it's something about Portland. Like, hasn't Portland been burned down before by Black Lives Matter and Antifa? Didn't that shit get burned down before?
They want to say that Abuela, who's been here for 55 years, a law-abiding non-citizen, is being deported. No, it's these criminals. It's the worst of the worst. And going into the heart of it, where we have an epidemic of Democratic lawmakers in these major cities, Harris, looking the other way for years now. 1.4 million Californians have migrated out of the state of California. Well, why do you think that is? It's a beautiful state, unless you look at all the man-made problems. And I think Donald Trump is doing a favor to these cities who have feckless and reckless, and I think spineless mayors like Karen Bass helicoptering over literally above it all over the weekend. Some of these governors, they won't stand down. They won't stand up to their own base in the party. So Donald Trump's doing them a favor by saying, we're going to come in and root out the criminals. We're going to continue to deport people who are there in the millions. Look at what's happened, the strain on the welfare system, the health system, the schools, the law enforcement. The police force in LA itself is down measurably from just a decade ago.
Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this in all honesty, right? Don't let this protest, this quote unquote protest, fool you, right? That's not what all of this is about. That's not what all of this is about. What all of this is really about, right? What all of this is really about, this is about, if we're being totally honest, this is simply about Donald Trump being elected. That's really all it's about. It's about Donald Trump being elected. If we're being totally honest, it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference if Donald Trump got elected and wasn't doing a mass deportation. In other words, they would have been doing this regardless. I firmly believe that. I believe that if Donald Trump had gotten elected and he wasn't running on immigration, like mass deportation and pushing that agenda, they would be out here cutting up for some other reason. That's really all this is about. All this is about is Donald Trump got elected. We don't like it. So we're going to go out in the streets and act a damn fool. And I'm going to tell you the truth, man. Like, this is one of those moments where it's like, man, forget all of the goofy stuff. Bring out the paddy wagons. Start rounding people up. If you're a non-citizen, you're getting kicked out of the country. If you're a citizen, you're going to jail. Like, come up with some new law or some new penalty for these individuals, the same way you come up with a law for everything else. During the crack era, you came up with harsher penalties, right? During that era, you came up with harsher penalties. Every time, let's be clear, every time, black folks do something, you come up with new rules. Where are the new rules for these individuals?
Harris, because they take early retirement. They feel like they're being literally spat upon, and worse, they're under-resourced, they're under-respected, and it starts with these lawmakers.
Which is endangering for the law enforcement.
What you're showing right now, live footage, a peaceful protest, really is part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, can you call out reality? Look, you mentioned her, and my team got this. Here's Democrat Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass sticking with the talking points, and as Kellyanne said, from the comfort of a chopper.
I will tell you, the 30,000 people were downtown LA. There were protests in 15 different locations in our city. I flew over each one of them, and they were overwhelmingly peaceful. It's not shocking that at the end of...
See, this is what I mean right here. This is what I mean right here. They should be getting prosecuted for this. Like, to get on television and just flat out lie This is a dereliction of duty. Point blank, period. They should be getting booted out of office and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The fact that she would sit her tennis ball head up there and tell that bold-faced lie while this freaking reporter, I think that's Dana Bash if I'm not mistaken, while she sits up there and just lets her lie. Knowing good and well, if this was a Republican trying to say that it was not a peaceful protest, Dana Bash would be interrupting him left and right, him or her, interrupting them left and right and trying to talk over them and push a narrative. Like, at this point, the bias is so blatant at this point that you would have to be, as an American citizen, you would have to be a fool to believe anything that's being said on CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, any of these news outlets. You'd be crazy to think that they're telling the truth.
Of a protest that you're going to have some confrontation. Of course, I wish there was none at all, but I don't think that characterized the day at all.
So why not walk on the ground?
Wow. Yeah, let me just remind everybody, no one on TV is under oath, that's for sure, including the mayor of Los Angeles, who barely won in the first place. Lost to a businessman, Harris, who I think did a great job during the fires as well. I mean, she's only been there for what?
You know what? I think if you're a news reporter, you should have to take an oath to tell the truth. I think news reporters that are on major networks should be penalized if they are found telling lies on the news. Like, for real. Eric said, what about Fox? What about Fox? What about Fox? What about Fox? Here's a better question, Eric. Instead of asking me what about Fox, how about I ask you, what about support? What about supporting the show? Why do you folks come in here thinking you're going to interrupt my show and ask me questions and you can't even do it in a damn super chat? He said, I will. We're waiting. We are waiting.
A very short period of time. She couldn't handle the fire. She can't handle this. But I think, look, this was the mandate. This is one of the many mandates for President Trump in the last election. 10 years ago today, he came to that elevator and talked about border security and illegal immigration. What a difference 10 years makes in that we need American strength and leadership from the top to send in our federal troops. And by the way, ICE is doing this, Harris, with pre-reconciliation, pre-big, beautiful bill resources. They're the ones with the limited resources. Some people, I think, they're not exactly cynics or skeptics. I think some smart people, Harris, make the point that some of these cities are sanctuary cities and sanctuary states to get more federal funding. But what did they do with it? They didn't root out the criminals. They've just thrown it more at the welfare system. They haven't solved the crime and the homelessness. And Harris, these are the same jurisdictions that allow theft. We've watched it all on camera on Fox News for years now. You can walk into a store, and if you only steal things under a certain amount of money, the guard can't stop you, the police can't prosecute you. People know that. They need to watch this. This is what's going to happen to you. These people are not heroes and saviors. They're burning American flags, waving Mexican flags, soon to wave Iranian flags, I'm convinced of it. And not just on our college campuses, but in the streets of our major cities. So look, this is an us versus them fight, and the them happen to be Democratic lawmakers. They should thank Donald Trump because their party country is in disarray and dysfunction. And he's actually going to make some of these cities brighter, smarter, and more beautiful and safer in short time.
Yeah, the faster the better. There are a lot of small businesses that are under pressure in some of these cities, particularly in downtown Los Angeles, for example, that's been under this for 2 weeks. I mean, they're changing potentially economies, so President Trump wants to get in there quickly. A new opinion piece titled "Argues the City's Progressive Government Set the Stage for the LA Riots." Some of what Kellyanne was just talking about, here's a piece of it. Why was the city prone to ignite? Because progressive government policies, which ironically harm immigrants most of all, created a tinderbox. If Mr. Newsom and Ms. Bass cared about the welfare of immigrants, they'd clean up Los Angeles' lawless streets, fix its atrocious public schools, and stop their assault on businesses. So kind of echoing some of what we're saying, but putting it out there. I mean, Democrats have got to see reality, but I guess you can't if you're in a chopper.
No, you can't. The statistics speak for themselves. A great piece by Alicia Finley in the Wall Street Journal. And she also makes the point, I think the schools piece and the law enforcement point is very important. If you're an illegal immigrant here and you put your kids in the school, or you're hoping that the police will come and help you when you need that, these policies in the blue cities by Democratic lawmakers overwhelmingly have hurt those that they pretend they're helping. I think it's a numbers game for them, Harris. They just like to say, Trump believes this, so we believe that. And having a sanctuary state literally telling law enforcement, you can't arrest, you can't prosecute, you can't do your job, has hurt the very people they're pretending they're helping. If they cared about these people, they would do something about the homeless. They would do something about the human waste that we see on the streets from the homeless, that these school children in San Francisco, Los Angeles had to step over to get to school. That's the richest irony of all. But look, I think the smartest mayors are the ones who are going to play ball and do work with this government. You see it. I even see it here in D.C., not on every issue, certainly, but Mayor Muriel Bowser, it's obviously a very smaller population
here in New York,
but
Mayor
she's
Adams.
trying to work with the federal government on a couple core issues to improve the affordability and livability of this city. My message to these Democratic governors and particularly mayors across the country is, you've got to work with this. Don't just take the money. Take the advice. People want this. That was the mandate. Law enforcement is incredibly important. Safe schools, healthcare system that works, et cetera. We don't have it in the blue states.
Yeah. Kellyanne, thank you so very much. It was an opportunity to really drill down on what could be, and we pray for that. Kellyanne Conway, thank you.
Hey, everyone.
So, common sense, right? To Eric, I don't usually acknowledge contributions that are less than $5, but I'm going to acknowledge yours since you asked a question I brought up contributing and you said you would. So you being a man of your word, I appreciate it, and I'm going to answer your question. You asking me about Fox News, whether or not they always tell the truth. That's a ridiculous question. The reason why it's a ridiculous question is because I just stated very clearly that I believe if you're a reporter for a major network, you should be held accountable if you lie. Is Fox a major network, Eric? Yes or no? Is Fox News a major network? Okay, then. Now, here's the difference between the right and the left as of late, okay? What I have noticed is that there has always been a bias in any of the media outlets, right? Fox News is always going to be more right-leaning. CNN, MSNBC, they're going to be more left-leaning. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with Fox News favoring the right. There's nothing wrong with CNN favoring the left. The only problem comes in when you want to tell blatant lies. Now, lately, whenever I tune into Fox News, I have not caught them telling blatant lies. Have I caught them showing their bias? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I have not caught them the way I have caught CNN, MSNBC, and a lot of these individuals just telling blatant lies that we can obviously see, like Karen Bass just sat up there and told that lie, that she was in a helicopter and she was flying over the city and all she saw was peaceful protests. Meanwhile, we're literally looking at the video of Los Angeles as these people are throwing stones, setting cars on fire. You had one dude standing on top of a police car or some car that they had just demolished, waving the Mexican flag. Like, bruh, in my opinion, for everybody watching, in my opinion, that should be considered an act of war. Like, if you're in America, if you're on American soil and you are literally destroying property, you're literally cutting up while simultaneously waving the flag of another country, bruh, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And the fact that it continues to be downplayed is what's the most frightening. Well, not that. I get that they're going to downplay it. They're always going to do that. What's the most frightening about the entire situation is not just that they're downplaying it, it's the fact that the people watching television are believing it. That's the scary part. The scary part is how many people actually believe these lies. As if you can't, like, here's where I've always said that, you know, social media is both a blessing and a curse, right? It's a curse because it has made people a little out of touch with reality in certain instances, right? People will look at a Facebook post or an Instagram post and they'll think that somebody's bawling out of control when they're really not. And it will cause people to be, you know, nobody ever frowns in family photos. Like when you look at a photo album is always going to be the best of times, never the worst of times, because people only take pictures when they're happy. People mostly take pictures when they're having a good time, right? And a lot of social media is a photo album. Instagram, Facebook is a photo album. So people will see individuals, they'll see their highlight reel, the highlight reel of their life, and then they'll compare it against their life. And nobody's life is a constant highlight reel. And they'll get depressed. That is the downside of social media. The upside of social media is you cannot continue to lie to the public about events. You're not able to spin it the way you used to. The news used to be able to spin it, right? So back in the day, before everybody had a camera phone in their hand and an internet connection in their hand, they could just show you the footage from LA that they want to show you, which would be people peacefully protesting, and the footage of people rioting and setting cars on fire and throwing rocks and shit. They wouldn't show you that on TV. But nowadays, you got people on the ground that are there with their phone that's recording it and then sending it to social media. So you can't lie to the people anymore. And the craziest thing about it is these freaking politicians and media idiots, they're so out of touch with the modern day and reality that they think all they have to do is sit on the news and just keep lying. They're like, yo, all we got to do is keep lying. They're going to believe us. All we got to do is keep lying. No. You're literally, with this goofy shit, you're literally turning the country into a powder keg. And I'm going to tell you why. Showing us that amount of people that are protesting, okay? It doesn't mean shit to anybody that has a modicum of intelligence, right? The reason why is because that number of people that are going out protesting for No Kings protest or whatever, right? That number pales in comparison to the 70-some million people that voted for Donald Trump. For the silent majority that are looking at these protests saying these people have lost their minds. See, what you need to realize is that small group of people that are out here protesting, they're the ones that ain't got no damn sense. Those of us that are sitting at home watching them act the fool, shaking our damn heads, saying, look, I voted for him to get them folks up out of here. Get them up out of here. Us folks that think like that, we got sense. We're not out in the streets. We weren't out in the streets when that damn potato was in office. When Joe Biden was in office, screwing up the country. We just sat back like, okay, you know what? This is horrible. This is messed up. But there's no need for us to trip because it's only 4 years. When that election roll around, we gonna make sure we get his weekend at Bernie's ass up out of there, which is exactly what we did. See, we're the side that believes in the Constitution. We're the side that actually cares about what the country looks like. We're the side that actually gives a damn about the laws and all of the shit that we have that makes this country continue to run properly. We're the ones. They don't. All them fools you see out there protesting are a bunch of pseudo hippie progressive commies. That's who they are. If we're being totally honest. And I don't know why everybody's surprised. I don't know why everybody's surprised at the way they're cutting up. Look at Mexico. That's all I gotta say. Look at Mexico. Look at Mexico. What did you think? What did you think was going to happen here when illegals came into this country? What do you think was going to happen? Let me tell you something. This is what's going on with the illegal immigrants coming here, okay? You remember when you were in school and you had that one teacher that was super strict. I'm talking about this teacher was so strict and so mean that as soon as that teacher walked into the classroom, everybody got quiet, right? That's the way other countries treat their citizens, okay? America is the cool teacher. America is the teacher that's not as strict, right? So we're the students, us American citizens, we're the students that are happy we have a teacher that's not strict. We're not going to show our ass like that because we're glad that we don't have a strict teacher. You remember when you had that cool teacher and you didn't take advantage of that shit because you wanted that teacher to continue to be cool. You wanted that teacher to roll out that TV so y'all could watch a movie or you know, give you an open book test or not give you no homework for the weekend. Like, we wanted that cool teacher. them illegal migrants, they are the bad students that are in the classroom with the strict teacher because they don't know how to act. And what's happened is that strict teacher is out sick. So the principal brought all of them badass students to our classroom, and now they're trying to take advantage of the cool teacher. And we're in the classroom looking like, yo, what are you doing? You're going to mess it up for all of us. That's the main reason why they got to get the hell up out of here. They're going to mess it up for everybody. Take your goofy ass back to whatever country with that goofy shit. If you want to come over here and act like you got some sense, cool. Cool. We will welcome you with open arms if you come in through the legal way and act like you got some sense. Welcome to America. Salute all of that good shit. So for all of you citizens that are Mexicans, cut it out with the guilt trip. Stop trying to make black people feel guilty because we don't want to join into that bullshit. We don't have a problem with Mexicans. We have a problem with illegals that are cutting up. That's who we got a problem with. Don't matter what country you came from. If you're here illegally and you're cutting up, we got a problem with it. Ain't got nothing to do with you being Mexican or South American or whatever. That shit is ridiculous, bro. That shit is ridiculous. Shout out to Mark G. He said Drake should really feel betrayed by Toronto. Shout out to Daniel Jackson Reacts for being a sponsor of the show. Shout out to your broski. I really appreciate it.
Here we go again. $100 boss up. Going down. Stack up and match up.
He said, Black American men. This topic is definitely needed because this happens a lot to a lot of us. So y'all pay attention. No doubt. We gonna get to that. We gonna get to that. Trust and believe. We definitely gonna get to that. Shout out to Eric. He said, thank you for answering and being respectful. I agree 100%. I appreciate you, Eric. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you for being a man of your word. Let's see. Shout out to Bree. Bree said the left knew the pride/trans movement was on its way out, so they are heavily pushing the immigrant thing now to try to impeach Trump. Yeah. Yeah, because the only way the Democrats function is the Democrats have to always have some group that claims it's being oppressed. You feel me? They can't, like, part of the reason why, a lot of people don't realize why when Barack Obama got in office, why he was pushing so hard for the LGBT community, right? The reason why is because he couldn't use black people anymore. The moment that you have a black man elected president, it was a double-edged sword. It was a double-edged sword. Because the moment you have a black man elected president, it kind of contradicts the narrative that you're in a country with systemic oppression. It kind of contradicts that. You feel me? Before, you could always say, well, we never had a black president. The moment you had a black president, in addition to many black people living extremely well, let's not get it twisted. There's a lot of black people out here that live very well, okay, that make a lot of freaking money, more than you know. You feel me? Black people are way better off than we were 20, 30 years ago. Like, black people are way better off than we were when I was a kid. That's for definite. You know, when I was a kid, the only black millionaires were usually celebrities, athletes, you know, movie stars and shit. Now you got regular, average, everyday black folks that's multimillionaires. Walking down the street, you wouldn't even know it, right? So the moment you start getting black people in a space where they're no longer feeling oppressed, you feel me? It's kind of hard to keep, because the black voting base is already small, right? And what the Democrats understand and what a lot of people don't understand, a lot of black folks that are still at the lower level of the socioeconomic ladder, right? What they don't understand is that Democrats understand that the more money a black person makes, the more successful they become outside of the entertainment industry. Meaning, if you're in the private sector as a black person and you start to become more successful, guess what's going to happen? Your conservative viewpoints are going to start being more prominent. Most people don't understand that. Now, some of you might say, what do you mean more prominent, Angryman? Because black people are Democrats by default, because they have been socially trained to believe that Democrats are going to help them when they're struggling, right? The only problem is black people are naturally conservative. Black people are naturally conservative. You understand? Most people don't get this. In fact, most people of color that are minorities are naturally conservative. The only problem is it's hard to be conservative when you're broke. Okay? So the moment that you start to experience some economic growth and some money, you start to, your conservatism starts to come out. Because once you get to the point where you can do for yourself, now you don't need the Democrats, because their only attraction, their only hustle, you feel me, is to tell you, well, we can help you because you're struggling. And the only way the Democrats know how to pander to black people is to pander to black people's victimhood. So when you start to become successful and you're no longer feeling like a victim, the Democrats are not appealing to you. That's their only appeal to anybody. In fact, let me tell you something. The immigrants that are here now, that are illegal, right? The only reason that they are on the side of the Democrats is because the Democrats can appeal to them by saying, well, we're going to get you fast-tracked to citizenship, right? But I would bet you any amount of money, that the moment those immigrants become American citizens, they're going to vote conservative. Bet you any amount of money. The moment they become American citizens and they have more opportunity and they start to be able to benefit from a capitalist country, they will become conservatives. And the only reason I know that is because they tried to do this before. Go back and watch the movie Scarface, right? With Al Pacino. If you remember at the beginning of that movie, one of the when they was interviewing him, you know, it was the government. I don't know if it's the FBI, law enforcement, or whatever, Homeland Security. I don't know who, but they was asking him where he came from and all of that shit. And dude was like, "Yo, Castro is shitting all over us," because back then, Castro got rid of a bunch of people from Cuba. He sent them to America, but guess what? A lot of those Cubans that he sent, a lot of them, they came from jails, they came from prisons, a lot of shit, right? And that's how you ended up with the issue down in Miami with all the drug dealing and all of that stuff. Basically what the movie Scarface was about, right? At the beginning of the movie, they actually show you the footage. It's actual footage of Cuban immigrants being sent to America, right? But guess what? If you go down to Florida, the Cuban population is mostly conservative. Right now, at this moment, the Cubans that are descended from those Cubans that were sent here, some of them are still alive, are conservative. They're not liberal. They're not liberal. They're not liberal because conservatism, you know, a lot of black people don't understand conservatism. They think that conservatism is rich white people stuff. It's not. Conservatism just basically means that you want smaller government. In other words, when I say smaller, I mean less government interference into your life as an American citizen, right? You believe in God, country, family. You believe in the right to defend your family. You understand? And you want to keep more of the money you make and pay less taxes. That's what conservatism is. Black people have always been that. In fact, prior to the 60s, black people were mostly Republican and mostly conservative. I've said this over and over again. We all know this. We all know this. We all know this. The Republican Party was created for the purpose of freeing the slaves, to push back against the Dixiecrats. The first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. The vast majority of the things that black people have gotten towards equality has been implemented by Republicans. We know this. The only problem is somewhere in the 60s, Lyndon B. Johnson tricked you Negroes into becoming Democrats. And you've been Democrats ever since. Until you get your damn hands on some real money. The moment you get your hands on some real money, you realize how goofy the damn Democrats are. Because after you done fought and scraped and climbed your way out of that crab bucket, and now you can actually afford a decent life, now the Democrats don't like you no more. You're now a target of the Democrats. They're now going to come to you and say, well, we got to tax you more because you're rich or you make more money. You make above average money. We got to tax you more so we can give that money to them crabs in the bottom of that bucket that you just got the hell away from. I'm sorry. Y'all can call me a coon. You can call me a sellout, all you want to. I don't feel like after I done worked my ass off to get to a whole nother level that now I should be taxed more to take care of a bunch of shiftless Negroes that don't want to get up off their ass and do nothing. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't. And let's be clear, that's not limited to Negroes, okay? Let me rephrase it so you can understand it. I do not believe that I, as an American citizen who took the pursuit of happiness seriously, okay? As an American citizen who took full advantage of any opportunity that was afforded to me to climb to where I'm at, I should not now be taxed to take care of the American citizens who are lazy and shiftless, that don't want to take advantage of the privileges they have here in America, the opportunities they have here in America. I shouldn't have to be taxed for that. They don't want to get it out the mud like I did, then let them struggle until they finally decide they don't want to struggle no more. But I shouldn't have to pay for it. I shouldn't have to be taxed more so that somebody can live on welfare for the rest of their life. Hell no. That's BS, bro. That ain't right. That's not right. That's not right. Especially me knowing how they do. I know people that take advantage of that system. It's a hustle. It's a hustle. If you come to my crib, everything in here, I earned it. I worked for it. I bought it. You feel me? Meanwhile, you know, from the car that I have to the cell phone to my furniture to every grain of rice in my house. Meanwhile, you got folks, you got American citizens that are at the bottom of the economic ladder because they're content being there. And they figured out a way to work under the table and keep their money and report to social services that they don't have no money. And then our tax dollars pays for them to have room and board, food on the table, and whatever other entitlement programs that they take advantage of. That's not right. That's not right. And then you got people like Beans talking about your tax dollars don't go towards paying for none of these programs. And I'm like, how is that? He said, because we're still, like, we don't even pay on the debt. We pay on the interest. So technically your tax What? They're still collecting taxes from us. It doesn't matter if that tax is, if that money is going to the interest on the damn debt or the debt itself. It's still coming out of our damn pockets for the purposes of paying on something that's accumulating because of you Negroes that's sitting on that shit. Like, that shit is crazy, bro. That shit is crazy. To try to rationalize it like that. Like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. The more money that they need for those programs, the more we go in debt, the more interest we pay, the more they have to tax us. It is a simple equation. It's a simple equation. It's a very simple equation. But he trying to say because the money don't go directly to them. What? That's not how economics work. That's crazy. That shit is crazy. Yo, shout out to Jerome. He said the Mariel boat lift in 1980. Exactly, bro. Appreciate that. Shout out to Burnt Sushi. Said, facts AM. I've been in Cuba twice and I live in South Florida. They like Trump and hate the left. Cubans hate what Castro did to Cuba. Exactly. Facts. Facts. And that's another thing. You want to talk, these folks want to run around here talking about Trump as a dictator. Ask one of these older Cubans about Castro. You want to hear about a dictator. Ask one of these older Cubans about Castro, or ask one of these older Middle Easterners about Saddam Hussein. Like, bruh, are they serious? Are they serious? They can't be serious, bro. Shout out to PTC Power Up in the building. Shout out to William. He said, gift, appreciate you. Shout out to Sean. He said, supporting these facts, preach AM. Let's see. Shout out to LeJack. Said, salute AM, time to cook. Shout out to Big Mike. He said, cook, brother, still using black women. Yep. Shout out to Kevin G. Said, it is treacherous to fly another nation's flag. Exactly. Exactly. But y'all already know what it is. Y'all know how I do when I start talking about conservative viewpoints. You know I'm gonna cook. You know I'm gonna cook. And I don't care how many of these Negroes get upset with me. I don't care. I don't care, because at the end of the day, the only Negroes that's going to get upset with me are the ones that ain't got no motion in the first place. You don't got no economic power. You're no longer the top minority voting bloc. That was proven in the past election when 90-some% of your women voted for Kamala and 80-some% of the men voted for Kamala, and you still lost. So that was just proof right there that you're no longer the voting bloc that you think you are. So trying to talk any trash to me is going to fall on deaf ears. I don't want to hear it. Because it's only these black folk that believe that they should be able to, you should have to listen to what they say for free. That's their mentality. That's their mentality. Like I could walk up to a freaking restaurant that has a line, right? That has a line. And the maitre d' or the hostess or whatever could be standing there, and there could be some black people right here that's about to be next. I could walk up there and slide that maitre d' $100, and then he'll say, oh, well, we'll find a seat for you right now. And the black people will be mad. Why he get to skip the line? Because sometimes you have to oil the machine. Sometimes you have to grease the machine. But black folk don't understand that. Black folk think everything is supposed to be fair for the sake of fair, even though their entire experience shows them that nothing is fair for the sake of fair. Black folk, most black folk, not all, but most black folk live in a perpetual state of cognitive dissonance. A perpetual state of cognitive dissonance. They will complain that the country is biased and systematically racist towards them. And the moment something happens that is racist, they're like, oh, that was racist. And you're like, bruh, you do know you just been complaining for the past 20 years about the country being racist. And when something racist happened, you're shocked about it? Like what? Which one is it? Because the only reason you should be shocked at something racist is if you're not expecting it. If you're expecting it, why the hell are you shocked? It doesn't make any damn sense. It don't make no damn sense, bruh. But I'm going to tell you what my theory is. I believe that the reason why black people are shocked when something happens that they perceive as racist is because they don't truly believe the country is racist as it used to be. They just love playing that card because they know it gives them an advantage. That's all it is. It gives them something to complain about. But the average black person walking around out here, they are not expecting something racist to happen to them. And that's the main reason when something happens that even looks like racism, they're shocked, like, oh my God. You know, that makes logical sense. You feel me? Them running around claiming that the country is so racist that technically we're still slaves, and then you're shocked when something happens that you think is racist, that's not logical. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's why I get annoyed every time something happens where there's something that people think is a racially motivated thing, and then they have a white example. They want to bring up the white example and shit. And I'm like, why are you bringing up the white example to me? For what? For what? To prove to me that there's a bias? I thought we already knew that. So why are you trying? That's why I got annoyed when I was over there on Izzy Band's show and we were talking about the Carmelo Anthony situation. And he brought up this white guy that I guess stabbed a Latino dude or something. And I guess the white guy got off. I don't know the story. I haven't looked up the story, none of that. But I'm like, white guy did something and got off. Why are you bringing that up to me? I don't get it. Is that to prove that Carmelo Anthony should get off? And that's where the problem comes in. You don't point out an example of a white person that did something wrong and got off to solidify that the black person doing something wrong should get off. That's backwards. That's backwards. You're supposed to be saying, okay, guess what? That white guy shouldn't have got off of that shit, and neither should this Negro. Like that's the way you're supposed to be thinking about it. You feel me? But it's like we're gonna use the example of what's the word? White nepotism to justify black foolishness. No. We cannot use white nepotism, past, present, or future, to justify black folk doing shit they shouldn't be doing. Because the moment you do that, black folk, you lose the moral high ground. And I hate to tell you, but you ain't got shit but morality. You ain't got nothing but the moral high ground. That's all you got. That's all you got. And you're rapidly losing that. You're rapidly losing that because you are not your grandparents. You're not. See, your grandparents could stand on the high moral ground. That's where white guilt comes from. White guilt comes from your grandparents, how they just continued to be good people regardless of how they were treated. That's where white guilt comes from. Y'all are not, you Negroes are actually spending the same way you spent up your grandparents' inheritance, the same way you messed around and lost the house and lost the land. You done did all of that, and now you're spending up all of your grandparents' moral currency by running around here acting a plumb fool. Because why would another group of people feel any sympathy for a group of people that seem to be perfectly content with destroying themselves? Why? Why? Explain that to me. And I get why some of you Negroes get mad at me and want to call me a coon and a sellout and all of that, because you cannot dispute my logic. You can't. You can't dispute my logic, because I'm going to tell you the straight up truth. A lot of you Negroes, your grandparents is rolling around in their grave. A lot of you Negroes, your forebearers, wherever they at, the astral plane, the spiritual world, whatever, they somewhere shaking their damn head. They went through all of that bullshit. They went through all of that so you could give Glorilla a fucking gospel award. They went through all of that so you could stand on the damn table in a restaurant and shake your ass. That's what they went through that shit for. That's what they went through that for. They went through all of that so you Negroes can walk around with your pants below your ass, showing everybody your underwear. That's what they went through that for. They went through all of that so y'all can run around here having a bunch of illegitimate children by multiple partners. That's what they went through that shit for. That's what all of that marching and all of the oppression and all of that. That's what they went through that shit for. So you Negroes can live on welfare for your entire lives, complaining as if you ain't got no opportunity whatsoever, when your opportunity makes what they went through seem like pure hell. You were lucky enough and fortunate enough to be born after all of that shit. If I could go back in time right now and bring a bunch of those black people from back then to today, those black folks would... Let me tell you something. If I went and got 10 black people, men and women, in their 40s from the 1920s and brought them here today, their work would be cut out for them. Because I would imagine that the men would start pulling their belt out of their pants. And I imagine that the women would tell you Negroes to go out there and pick them a switch. They would come to every event that you Negroes have just to give y'all a good old-fashioned ass whooping. Because the way you act today, there's no way on God's green earth you would have got away with acting like that back in the day. And you fucking know it. That's the funny part about it. You fucking know it. And you run around here trying to make excuses. And see, that's the real reason why y'all try to socialize this new society to not be violent. So you can get away with your bullshit. So you can get away with your bullshit. That's the whole reason why y'all want to get rid of corporal punishment. So you can get away with your bullshit. So you can get away with your bullshit. So you want to come in here and all you do is talk about black folk, angry man, because most of you ain't hitting on 2 damn cents. Most of you ain't hitting on 2 damn cents. I'm going to tell you something that I've been noticing that's been happening lately. I can see a correlation between what goes on online and what's going on in real life. Right? I know a neighborhood where this was a neighborhood of families, right? And one by one, in this modern day, I've watched as the women have broken up with the men they're in a relationship with. One by one, like dominoes. Now, when I look on social media, I see all of these women talking about we've come to the realization that we don't need no man. Have you ever wondered why lately, if you go look up the statistics, the most evicted people in American society today is black women? At first, I couldn't figure out why. It didn't make no sense to me. Because if a black woman is single and she has a job that pays enough for her to pay her rent, she gonna make sure her rent get paid. So I was trying my best to figure out what the hell is going on. I'll tell you what's going on. There's a lot of folks in 50-50 relationships. And these women, out of a desire to, I guess, be a city girl or be single or whatever, they've been breaking up with their men left and right. And because they've been breaking up with their men thinking they're going to be able to hold it down by themselves, they wasn't able to hold it down by themselves. This shit is embarrassing. This shit is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. Yeah, man, ain't too much else I can say after that. Shout out to everybody that came through. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. Appreciate y'all for showing love. Those of you that hit the Cash App and supported the show, shout out to everybody that hit the like button, all of that good stuff. Make sure you guys go check out my book, The Angryman Standard, which is available on Amazon. In fact, let's see. I'm going to start pulling my book up so y'all can know that it's there and you can go pick it up. You feel me? Make sure you guys go check out my book, The Angryman Standard, which is available on Amazon. All you have to do is type The Angryman Standard in the search bar, and it will come up. It's available in paperback and hardcover. You feel me? Also, if you want to check out the merchandise, you can do so by going to shopBinoNation.com, or you can click the link on the screen. ShopBinoNation.com. We got some ill-ass merchandise that you can check out. We got the I'm not woke, I'm awake. Real shit. You feel me? We got the balanced, noble, and dangerous. You feel me? We got the defy, expose, and build. You feel me? And of course, we got masculinity ain't toxic, weaknesses. You feel me? So make sure you guys go over and check out some of the merch that we got over there. You feel me? Decent prices. But with that being said, y'all already know what it is, man. Salute to the whole BINO empire. We about to get up out of here, and I'm going to holler at you guys later. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?